Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We are going to be going over week 4 of the NFL for Sunday and Monday games. Going to do my pick 'em. If you are interested in my picks against the spread, I release those on Twitter every Sunday morning. Probably, maybe gonna do the Sunday morning early game earlier because it's like 6 a.m. where I am. Other than that, we're going to go through the pick'em here now. Last week we went 12-4 in pick'em. We also went 12-4 against the spread. Gotta admit, I've been super hot, especially when it comes to against the spread, going 12-4 the past 2 weeks in a row. So if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you check out my picks tomorrow on Twitter. Been on fire, probably the hottest fire of my year. 31-16-1 pick 'em so far this year, and 34-14 against the spread, which is just basically 75%, just completely fire. But guys, we're just gonna jump into it. Kind of go on the fly here and pick 'em style, following my little board that I found this to be the best way. Let me know what your guys pick, comment, smash the like button, all that fun stuff. We do these every week. Try to get these out Saturday when we have the most news along the way. First game of the week, we got Minnesota at New Orleans, but technically they're in London, so is the home field advantage not too much. Kirk Cousins, I have him gonna carry the load in this game. He's been pretty good, especially when it comes to these morning games overall. And I think last year they were in London and he had a good game. Winston doesn't look like he's going to be getting the start for New Orleans. It looks like it's going to be Andy Dalton for New Orleans, the Red Rocket, I guess they were calling him. Ginger, he's going to get it. I don't like the offense New Orleans has been putting out. They've been shut out pretty much the past 2 weeks on offense. And I think they're going to have a lot of trouble here. And Minnesota, in my books, is the much better team. They're a slight favorite in this game, but yeah. Next up, we got Buffalo Bills on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. It's an interesting spot because the Ravens and Dolphins played a couple weeks back, and then the Bills and Dolphins played. Dolphins beat them both. Bills a little bit injured coming off that Heat game. I do expect a big bounce back here, and Josh Allen is going to probably tear up this Ravens defense. It's going to be interesting how Lamar plays against a Bills defense, which has been ranked number 1 for a number of years. Maybe not number 1, but they've been a strong defense for a number of years. They might be missing a couple of their starters, but it always seems to be that the next man up in Buffalo land. So I'm going to be picking the Bills to come back, have a bounce back win on the road against the Ravens here. It's going to be a great game. There's a lot of great games set up this weekend. This is going to be one of them. Yeah, and even if you are not interested in these two teams, this game's going to be super close. The Chicago Bears and the New York Giants. Giants at home, coming off a pretty disappointing loss against the Dallas Cowboys on this past week on the Monday night. For me, it was super disappointing because had the Giants covered or won that game, I would have scooped both my pools in back-to-back weeks. Unfortunately, I ended up with a massive 7-way tie in one of them and 4th in the other, so no money in that one. But the Giants, I expect them to come out here. They're not going to be up against the same kind of defense of pass rush and stuff that they were against the Cowboys. And their defense, I think, will be able to hold the Bears much like they held the Cowboys for the most of the game. And at the very least, they're going to score a little bit more in this Bears game. So I do think the Giants have a little bit of an edge. This is going to be a close game, though. So, don't count the Bears out. But that's going to be my pick. Next one up, Chargers and Texans. It's not really much discussion here. Chargers are the much better team. The big question mark is Herbert, whether he's really suffering from that rib injury or not. But this has got to be a win spot for them in this AFC West. That's just like a bunch of good teams. They need to pick up a win here to make sure that they hold the ground and stay up in the race. I don't think the Texans have the offense to be able to compete. I don't know if Bosa's really going to play or not, but with Mack and Bosa, if they're both in the lineup, Mills is going to have a lot of trouble getting things going. Pierce had a good week last week, the rookie running back, but we'll see if that can carry forward. Overall, I don't think the offense of the Texans can keep up, especially in a pick'em style. If we're looking at a spread, it might be a different story. But yeah, Next up is finally we're going to get a team where I'm going a little bit off the board, and I'm going with the Jets against the Steelers here. Steelers did have a little bit of extra rest because they played Thursday last week, so they get that extra time to prepare. I just don't know if I am confident that the Steelers are going to be able to put up the offense. Trubisky has yet to show that he really can get anything going. On the same side of things, the Jets, you could argue, are the same story with Flacco back there. They haven't really got a whole lot going. They did have that crazy major comeback earlier when they came back against those Browns. I think overall the Steelers are a little bit weaker than the Browns. I think the Jets have those young talent to be able to maybe keep this game super close and come out with a win. I'm not sleeping on the Jets. I think there's a lot of motivation on this team to get some wins and show their receipts, etc., etc. So I'm taking the Jets here for probably the first off the board pick because they are underdogs. I think it's only 3.5 points, but it's still fairly big underdogs in this situation. Next up, we got the Seahawks and the Lions. Been giving a lot of thought in this one. The spread opened 6.5 point favorites for the Lions, and then some injuries with St. Brown going to be out and Swift going to be out. It's been tough. I've been leaning towards going Seahawks, but the more I go into the stats and stuff, I still got to go with the Lions. They still got the strong running game. Their offense is, I just don't know if Seattle can match this offense no matter what. It's been tough. I think if you're looking at pools where you have the 6.5 point spread, you honestly have to go Seahawks at this point, just the fact that the spread shifted so much. But if you're dealing with just betting 3.5, look tomorrow for my pick on that on Twitter. Next up, we got the Titans and Colts, and this is a highlight marquee matchup of the week. We got the AFC South. These guys predicted to be the top of the AFC South coming in the season. These guys played each other tough. I think they went 1-1 against each other last year. And both of them are not off to the start that they expected. They both picked up a win last week. Colts coming off the Kansas City, whereas the Titans had that big win. Almost blew it down the stretch against the Raiders, but they got it done. Overall, this could be setting the tone for the rest of the year, this game. And I'm going to have to go with I'm honestly just going on the fly here, going with my gut. My gut is telling me to go with the Titans, so I thought about it. As much as I feel like it's one of those times, my heart is telling me to go with the Titans, and my brain is telling me to go with the Colts. So I'm going with my heart, and that's how I typically tend to bet when there's that gut feeling. Definitely when it comes to spreads, I tend to go that way, and it usually pays off. And in this situation, I just think the Titans overall offensively, they're very well balanced. The Colts did get Pittman back. Got a lot of concern whether Matt Ryan can hold this, and honestly, if it wasn't for that Chris Jones penalty last week with the Chiefs, they probably would have lost that one too, and they would have been in a hole. And if that were the case, I would probably consider the Colts because it would be like a must-win situation, but it's not. Next up, Eagles. Jaguars. Eagles are now the only team that remains undefeated in the NFL, and I think it's going to stay that way. The Eagles' defense is just going to be the strongest defense that the Jaguars have yet to see this season. They're at home. They have the offensive weapons. The Eagles are really on pace to potentially go 13-14 win season, and I don't think the Jaguars have what it takes to keep up with this team. I went off the board last week and picked the Jaguars in that upset win. Wasn't surprising. I think the Chargers had a lot of injuries that held them back. Eagles, on the other hand, well balanced, both sides of the ball, stronger team. But this very well could be the coming out party for the Jags, so don't sleep on them per se. But in a pick'em style, I just can't go off. And if you're in a pool pick'em, you can't really go Jags. It's just too gambly, too early in the year. Washington versus Dallas is the next game up here. I'm going to just follow Dallas. I wasn't sold on Dallas. I was a little concerned about their injuries, but after getting the highlight last week against the Giants on the Monday night, you saw how strong their defense, their pass rush, it really is. And I'm worried that Washington's be able to handle it at all. I think it's going to be very similar to a game like they played against the Giants. It might be super close early. Unless Washington gets out to a 14-0 lead, I don't think that they really have a chance. I think if Dallas is successful in running the ball like they were last week, they're going to slowly chip away at this team. They're going to get a little bit of a lead, and their defense is going to hold it down the fort. And that's how I'm picking this one. Next up, Falcons Browns, and this one is interesting to me because, like, for me, it's like a slam dunk that it's the Browns, right? Um, but this is one of those weird spots where if you really study the numbers and start looking at the analytics side of it, not even like the analytics of the teams, but the analytics of the sports betting world, and you see the Falcons are actually like within 1 point on the spread, which makes you wonder that there's something up here. I know with Garrett Miles Garrett got in that car accident this week, so he's questionable. He looked a little rough, honestly, in the press conference. A lot of bruises, but I would suspect he plays. And a lot of injuries dealing on the Browns side, whereas the Falcons have surprised a lot of people with their offense. I'm not surprised by their offense, and we all know their defense has been super weak, at least for the past couple of years. So that's kind of where the difference comes here for me. Wouldn't be surprised, I guess, just based on what I've seen in the spread and stuff, if the Falcons win this one. But I got to go with what I feel. And when I saw the spread and all that, immediately went with the Browns. We're switching over to the afternoon games and the late night game and Monday night game. We got Carolina hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Again, this is one of those situations where the spread kind of comes out 1 point favorites for the Carolina Panthers, and you start to wonder if these two teams matched up at the beginning of the season, you'd probably be seeing the Cardinals as a favorite. But I've liked what I've seen out of the Panthers, even though they lost that early game against the Browns. It was super close. They could have very well been top of this NFC South, or at least tied up there. I do like them. Their defense to be able to hold the Cardinals' offense at bay while their offense is able to kind of run over the Cardinals. I do expect I do think that the home field advantage is going to have a little bit at play here, and I am going to pick the Panthers to win this game. A little wild, I know. Next up, Broncos at the 0-3 Raiders. Raiders have just had atrocious luck, really. They've had that one game where they blew against the Cardinals down the stretch last week. They missed a 2-point conversion that could have sparked an overtime comeback win against the Titans. And now they're at home against a division rival Broncos who haven't seemed to get an offense going whatsoever. A lot of question marks for the Raiders. This is like a do-or-die situation at home. I am going to go with the Raiders here. I think overall, if it wasn't the kind of situation we've been seeing early on in the season, I would have picked the Broncos. But I just think an 0-3 team, desperate for a win against a division rival who has had trouble scoring, spells for a win here for the Raiders. They're going to pick up their first win of the season. Next up, Packers, Patriots, and there's no question about it for this one. If you're in a pick 'em pool, you gotta pick the Packers. If you're in a spread pool, 10.5 points, that's a lot of points to give them in an over-under situation where the amount of points isn't expected to be a lot. But we're talking pick 'em now, and it's Packers. You got Hoyer starting for the Patriots with Mac Jones out with that ankle injury. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. I didn't look into that too deeply, but there's not much to discuss here. It's Packers. Sunday night game. This one is awesome. It's right now it's a pick'em game. There's no spread. It's straight up pick'em at this point. And you got the Chiefs coming into Tampa Bay. Chiefs got to be very disappointed with how last week went against the Colts. Chris Jones just let the team down, and I know there's a lot of fans upset, but realistically, the Chiefs didn't get offense, and their offense has been somewhat slow so far this year. They're going to be up against the Tampa Bay defense. That's pretty strong. We're going to see possibly Julio Jones making his start back for Tampa. They said they gave him that extra week last week of rest. We're going to see Mike Evans back, so weapons should be back for Brady to be able to be a little bit more at it. They're going to be playing in Tampa Bay by the sounds of it. The hurricane didn't stop this game from happening. I'm going to be leaning, and don't let my wife see this, but I'm leaning Tampa Bay to win this one at home in front of the fans that are going to be extra amped with that whole hurricane situation. We got Brady with his extra weapons, and I just don't know if the offense is there for the Chiefs right now. I want to see Mahomes kind of step out. They are really missing Hill right now, and it shows. Next up, we got the Rams on the road against the 49ers, and this is the Monday night game. And for me, it's the Rams. I know the 49ers have had the Rams number for the past couple of years, except for the playoffs last year. And it seems like the spread is really in the 49ers' favor, which to me is very surprising. I just am not sold on the 49ers' offense, Garoppolo being able to pull anything off. Whereas the Rams' offense, I know Stafford's been kind of questionable and he seems to be just throwing picks left and right here. But I think with the offensive weapons, it's just too much to overcome in a pick'em style game. Got the Rams here. So there you have it. Week 4 picks written down. Hopefully I've been pretty good. Like, it's been a good year so far, especially in the spread. 12-4 both spread and pick'em last week. Just wild. But guys, if you guys like seeing these picks, make sure you smash that like button and you subscribe to the channel. We are going to do these every single week. Baseball playoffs are kicking off, I guess, next weekend. Believe it or not, it's already here. It's awesome. So we're going to be doing some content around that. Hockey season is another one of those sports that I love, and this channel is all about just sharing my love for sports, my opinions, and building a community of guys that just love sports too. So if you're interested in just talking more sports, stuff like that, join our Discord community. We got a bunch of guys in there that are talking all the time, and we'll see you out there for that next video. Thanks for watching.